Good afternoon. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting. I am Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. Ty Menser, Vice Chair, joining us via Zoom. Commissioner Gary Edwards joining us from the boardroom, as well as County Manager Ramiro Chavez. It is January 25th, 2022, 2:03 p.m. And I'm calling this meeting to order. There is a dial-in option via 360-252-9020. The PIN number is 1234, and as well as the Zoom option. This meeting is being live streamed via our YouTube. Okay, with that, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Edwards.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then a land acknowledgement to be led by Vice Chair Menser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would also like to start today's meeting with a land acknowledgement, and we would like to acknowledge the Indigenous Salish peoples who have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. With that, is there an approval for the Tuesday, January 25th agenda?
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, January 25th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
No.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menser,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the board meeting minutes?
I move to approve board meeting minutes from January 18th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menser,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Okay, the next section is opportunity for the public to address the board. There are some guidelines for public comments for the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines: please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones. The board does not respond to public comments. On a need basis, the county manager will follow up with specific items. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. The board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to address the meeting for good cause. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board and appeal. Thank you for your cooperation. With that, I will.
Madam Chair, I think we only have the option of Zoom at this point, obviously, and we'll check the conference call here in a minute. So
Okay.
with your allowance, I can probably call individuals on the Zoom.
Perfect, thank you.
First, what I have is Mr. Joe Hanna. Would you like to provide testimony this afternoon? Please go ahead. You have 4 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Joe Hanna, East Olympia. I'm here today as a private citizen. I'd like to express that I am also the new chair of the Ag Advisory Committee, but again, I am here as a private citizen. Thursday night, we had a meeting with elections included. And I've talked to one of you about that meeting. I've sent one of you a detailed email along with a link to the meeting, and one of you were in attendance for part of it. So I would say that I'm glad that we have a commissioner come to our meeting. We've had a couple in the past. I am concerned, and I do recognize and respect that each of you has a lot of stuff that you have to do. But Commissioner Mejia, and I apologize for pronouncing your name wrong the other night. I was disappointed that you left after about 45 minutes. What you missed when you left was a substantial amount of work that the committee was able to do and produce for the staff and ultimately for you. Unfortunately, it seems like that's become a little bit of a pattern. And again, I do recognize and respect your time and appreciate that you do attend. I am going to wait a week, one, to let some things settle, but also see how you guys respond to the comments that I have made by email and in person related to what happened Thursday night. And I will probably be back next week to talk more about it. That's all I have today. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Greg Moe. Mr. Greg Moe, you'd like to provide testimony this afternoon?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you scroll down the screen? And that's all I have for you in terms of public testimony. Let me check the conference call. Good afternoon. For those members of the public who have joined us via conference call this afternoon, please unmute yourselves, state your name, where you reside in the county. You have 4 minutes. None, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2, county manager's update.
I don't have any specific updates for you this afternoon. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, and then item number 3, consent items A through E. Any discussion on those?
No, ma'am.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to approve consent items 3A through 3E on today's agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Consent items pass. Item number 4, it's Commissioner's item, ordinance to create a countywide home fund.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This particular proposal is related for the board to consider imposing an additional sales and use tax of 0.1% for housing and related services. As a matter of background, in 2020, the Washington State Legislature approved House Bill 1590, and as a result, the governor signed into law amending RCW 82.14.530. And this is related to the use tax for housing and related services. This particular action by the legislature authorized the legislative authority of a county or a city to impose a 0.1% of a local sales tax by a councilmatic action. In the 2021 legislative session, House Bill 1070 passed into law by signing the governor, which amended RCW 82.14.1.530. This particular amendment stated that at least 60% of the revenue generated by the 0.1% of this additional tax must be used for constructing or acquiring affordable housing, constructing and/or acquiring behavioral health-related facilities or acquiring land for that purpose, funding the operations and maintenance costs of new units of affordable housing and facilities. The housing and facilities may only be provided for the following groups whose income is at least or below 60% of the county median income. Those are people with disabilities or behavioral health disabilities, veterans, senior citizens, people who are homeless or at risk to being homeless, including families with children, accompanied homeless youth and youth adults, and domestic violence survivors. The City of Olympia voters approve an additional 0.1% of the sales and use tax under RCW 82-14530 during the special election on February 13, 2018. The City of Olympia passed ordinance number 7127 on March 6, 2018, implementing the Olympia Home Fund, which is 0.1% of the sales tax. Also, the City of Olympia Council approved a resolution of intent on January 12, 2022 to bring their home fund dollars to the Regional Housing Council in coordination with the County Home Fund if that is approved by the board this afternoon. Also, the City of Tenino approved an additional 0.1% of a sales and use tax in accordance to RCW 82-14530. This particular action by the Tenino City Council was via councilmatic, and it was under ordinance number 919, and it was taken on January 11, 2022. On June 14, 2018, the Thurston County Board of Health adopted resolution number H2 2018 declaring homelessness a public health crisis, resolving to provide support and leadership in effective community wide collaborative coordination, planning, and policy efforts to end the crisis and to implement actions that will reduce homelessness, increase affordable housing development opportunities, and address the health, safety, social, economics, and environments of our citizens. This particular action also includes creating a new chapter in Thurston County Code. There's Thurston County Code Chapter 5.51, which it will be added to the regular Thurston County Code. They add some of the prescriptions of this particular legislation. Among those, some of the items in the new chapter will include the recommendations of this use and sales tax for affordable housing-related services, that the Regional Housing Council shall make funding recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for this final approval on eligible projects and activities to be supported with monies collected from the tax authorized by RCW 82-14530. That the Regional Housing Council recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners shall be based on the work and recommendations of the Community Advisory Subcommittee. The such Community Advisory Subcommittee of the Regional Housing Council shall be composed of community members, including private stakeholders representing all areas of Thurston County. Also, the Board of County Commissioners shall exercise their vote on an up and down vote, approval or rejection vote on the funding recommendation by the Regional Housing Council. If the majority of the Board of County Commissioners rejects such recommendations, those recommendations will refer back to the Regional Housing Council. Also, in this particular legislation, the Board of County Commissioners requires the Regional Housing Council shall develop and submit to the Board of County Commissioners an annual performance report outlining the specific deliverables of the uses of the sales and use tax for housing and related services. Also, the Board of County Commissioners directs the Regional Housing Council, they shall publish on their website the sales and use tax for affordable housing and related services annual performance report and make it available to the public via news release or any other means the first quarter or every year thereafter. This particular legislation also includes, as a result of the City of Olympia passing their own home fund, as well as the City of Tenino passing their own home fund, such collection and distribution of the receipts will include a credit against its tax to the full amount of the tax imposed by the City of Olympia and the City of Tenino, and that is pursuant RCW 82.14.301C. That's what I have for you in terms of opening remarks for this particular item, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you for that. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't necessarily have questions, Madam Chair, but I am very concerned about this expenditure into the future. And over the next 10 years, we're slated to raise and spend about $50 million. And recently, the Columbian, a paper out of the Vancouver area, wrote an article that Western Washington is exceeding growth in the homeless activities, even more so than California. Senator Linda Wilson from the 17th District was being interviewed about this topic as that came up. And I really do feel that anytime we're going to put together a plan to put more money towards a project like homelessness, and the amount of money we're talking, that this should always go in front of the voters. Even the City of Olympia put it in front of their voters, and I might note they passed it overwhelmingly. And we heard during public comment that there were a large number of folks very supportive of this. But I have heard from my constituents that they don't think throwing money at the problem is going to be the solution. And anytime we deny voters the right to vote on an issue, we continue to slip further away from democracy. And so that is why I am opposed to doing this through the councilmatic process. I am very much in favor of putting this on the ballot and letting the voters have their say. So I will not belabor the issue. I've spoken often about this concern that I have, and the democratic process will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menzer, any questions?
No questions. Save comments for the discussion on the motion.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I would move to approve an ordinance imposing an additional sales and use tax of 0.1% for housing and related services as authorized by RCW 82.14.530 and adding a new chapter to the Thurston County Code.
Is there a second? I'll go ahead and second it. I'll call, any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I, as well as Commissioner Edwards, I've spoken on this a few times, but since this is kind of the final piece of a long journey, a few things I wanted to say. I think this is a very important step that Thurston County is taking. There's been a few times in my 3 years in office that I've been able to do something that I felt was really, really significant. And there's a certain feeling I get when there's an issue where I support it, but I'm not 100% sure where the community is at. And then we go through the process and you feel the community support, and it feels really good to then be able to go ahead and advance that initiative. A couple of things that spring to mind: when I was on the Intercity Transit Board and we got to vote, I got to cast a vote in favor of the Zero Fare pilot project. When I was on this board, on a previous board, and we had a chance to preserve the most ecologically sensitive area of the community, Rocky Prairie, through a land use action. And I would put this action in that category. My wife likes to say you got to spend money to save money. And I think that's particularly true when you talk about permanent supportive housing. It's kind of an expensive upfront proposition, but there have been study after study that shows that investments of this kind save the community money in police, prisons and prosecutors, in hospitals and emergency services. This is a good way to go for the community. And we have a unique opportunity right now to capitalize on the federal relief money that Thurston County has received. That money is eligible for expenditure on acquisition of housing, but without the ability to provide ongoing funding for the wraparound services, you can't make use of those dollars in the most effective way. And Olympia was able to pass it. They had to pass it before there was a councilmanic option that our local state legislator, Beth Dolia, was able to put in place, looking directly at the needs of Thurston County and in our region. We have new statewide polling that's been done, comprehensive, that shows that this is a foremost issue on voters' minds. They expect government action on the homelessness issue. We have, the city of Tenino, as the county manager pointed out, just passed this councilmanically, showing that even just an exclamation point on the fact that this is a regional issue, that even a community like Tenino understands that these resources are needed for to dealing with this issue across the county. It's not just an Olympia issue. The city of Lacey, for the most part, their debate, as I understood it, was about whether they would pass it councilmanically themselves versus working with the county. And it wasn't about whether or not there was a need for this or whether this type of action was appropriate. So all of that underscores the regional scope of this and the appropriateness of this action. On Commissioner Edwards' point, I would say that up to 40% of the money here can be used for mental health treatment and facilities, something he's talked about a lot, something I've talked about a lot, Commissioner Mejia, we all know. So to the extent that his point proves to be right, that this money is not being effective, the money's flexible enough to meet another gaping need of this community, which is mental health treatment and services. And then I want to emphasize one extra wrinkle here, which is that we've worked hard to build. So what you're getting for this is not just a discrete county program. We have built a regional collaborative framework. We have a resolution from the city of Olympia and a mandate for an interlocal agreement that will completely align our resources with the resources that are already being collected by Olympia, streamline the decision-making process through the Citizen Advisory Committee and the Regional Housing Council, on which all of the elected officials from all the jurisdictions sit, in order to create efficient, high-impact projects and good oversight of the money that is being collected here. So I think the community really gets a good value out of what is being proposed, and I'm really excited to be able to support it.
Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I would just like to close. I appreciate Commissioner Mentzer's position on this topic, but there is no requirement that we have accountability. And there's going to be continued deviant behavior on the part of many because of that. Commissioner Mentzer mentioned that, yes, we're going to be able to do some treatment activity, but it's all voluntary. And some of these people need a nudge. They need some help so that they can be mandated to take treatment for both mental health issues and for chemical dependency. And shy of issues like that being required, we're just never going to get ahead of it. And I conclude my statement. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll just say some points. I do agree with Commissioner Mentzer. And some points that Commissioner Edwards made as well. I mean, this has been a long process. We've been talking about this since early last year, and it's been a work in progress. We've put in a lot of hours working with the other jurisdictions, making sure that this resolution, would be up to par and that everyone was in agreement. There were, a lot of different opinions at first, but then we all came together and really, it's really formidable. And many other counties have enacted this home fund already. We're not the first who's going to jump on this. But looking at the other counties' resolutions and looking at ours, I'm really proud at how we've been able to work with our partners in this because it really is a regional issue. There are several projects that will need this funding. Commissioner mentioned that we are using current ARPA funds, but just the ongoing maintenance of all these projects is going to take use of the home fund. And there are still more projects. Yesterday, I had a meeting with someone who's trying to build workforce housing, and they were seeing if they could access funds. And there's going to be many more projects like this that, are really, we're so behind the curve already that, just doing this, it's going to help us advance them, because we haven't really been funding mental health. We haven't been funding, housing. We haven't been funding different programs. And, we are here, and I just don't think we can continue to do anything. So with that, I will go ahead. It's been moved, seconded. We've had some discussion. I'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, now on to community planning and economic development. 5A, interlocal agreement with the city of Tumwater for island annexation. And I see Jeremy Davis here.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis with Thurston County Community Planning and Economic Development. Today, I'm here to request the Board of County Commissioners give final consideration to a proposed interlocal agreement with the city of Tumwater related to the annexation of 12 unincorporated county islands, and authorize the chair of the Board of County Commissioners to sign the agreement. The city of Tumwater has 12 unincorporated county islands within its city limits. This totals 160 parcels with over 161 acres, with 7 of those islands having 2 lots or less. A public hearing was held by the city and county on January 18, 2022, and a joint public hearing is allowed under state law, and that's RCW 35A 14.296. The proposed agreement incorporates a previous agreement approved by both the city and county in 2008, as amended in 2014. Both the city and county must approve the agreement, or the island annexations cannot proceed. The city of Tumwater approved the draft agreement on January 18, 2022, shortly after the public hearing. This draft agreement has been reviewed by staff both in CPED and in Public Works, as well as by the prosecuting attorney's office. A notice of the public hearing was sent to all affected property owners by the city of Tumwater, and also published by both the city and county separately in the Olympian. And other notable dates include December 1st, when the city and county held an open house and notified all property owners of that open house. And we also published the draft agreement in the Olympian, or notice of the draft agreement in the Olympian, 4 times as required by state law, and posted the draft agreement on both the city and county websites. And with that, I'll answer any questions the board may have this afternoon.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions. Great job by staff, and we've discussed this many times. So that's why I have no questions. Thank you, sir.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No, if folks, have questions, there's great materials Tumwater put together and our staff, and check the, or they could check the public hearing that we had, where there was basically a live presentation given, and everything was really well laid out.
Yes, I second what my commissioners, not my commissioners, but the commissioners said. Apologize. With that, I'll call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the interlocal agreement with the city of Tumwater related to the annexation of unincorporated county islands, and authorize the chair of the Board of County Commissioners to sign the agreement.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I would just say, we had a few impassioned, citizens that were not in agreement. And I understand the frustration. I've had situations in my own life where, you work under a legal construct, and you fight battles, and they're exhausting, and maybe you prevail, and then the construct changes. The legislature changed the law. There was a good reason for it, and we worked actually in advance of that change of law. But I do understand, absolutely, reading those emails, you feel for people that go to war under a certain set of rules, and then the rules change, and it feels pretty unfair. I understand that, but I think the commissioners we're looking at the big picture, and we're really trying to come up with a process that works best for the overall community. It doesn't make sense to have these isolated islands where services, have to be chunked up between different jurisdictions. And so I just wanted to say that, because I felt like I do appreciate the input we got, and I read those carefully, and I understand where the frustration is coming from, but I think we have to move forward, and this is a better way of going about, growth management and urban growth. Thank you.
Thank you. No, and I agree with you, Commissioner Menser. It was, a lot of my questions got answered with that presentation that was done at the public hearing. I know I had a couple, and it ultimately comes down to having more effective services, across the jurisdictions. And again, just thank you to staff and to the Tumwater staff for doing this joint public hearing. I thought it was very informative, and we all got the same information at the same time. So thank you for managing that. Okay, with that, is there moved and seconded, and there's been discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. Our next item is emergency services. Item 6A, Medic 1 EMS agencies, COVID-19 high probability unit contracts. And I see Kurt here. Hi, Kurt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services for Thurston County, here today requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve the high probability contracts for COVID-19 response with emergency medical services for a total annual amount of $142,500 for the term January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023, and authorize the Director or Interim Assistant Director of Emergency Services to sign the agreements and any amendments that do not exceed 10%. And Commissioners, I'm requesting a change to that motion, that it be Interim Assistant Director instead of Interim Director, as Ben Miller-Todd is the Interim Assistant Director. This is a renewal of the HPU contracts approved in 2021. The high probability unit or HPU contract provides for a surge capacity during emergencies when there is a stress on the EMS system, and allows the fire and EMS services to bring additional response and transport units into the system. This contract allows Medic 1, part of the Emergency Services Department, to maximize EMS resources during emergency situations such as the current pandemic. This surge capability is conditioned on an emergency declaration implemented by either the federal, the state, or county government for Thurston County, and currently there is an emergency declaration for the pandemic. Funding for these contracts is from the American Rescue Plan Act, or also known as ARPA, and the Thurston County Emergency Medical Services Council recommended approval of the HPU surge capability. And subject to your questions, I request that the board approve this contract.
Thank you, Kurt. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, I think Kurt did a good job explaining it to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menser?
Nothing. Thank you.
Okay, I have no questions either. I'll call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the high probability unit contracts for COVID-19 response with emergency medical services agencies for a total annual amount of $142,500 for the term of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023, and authorize the Director or Interim Assistant Director of Emergency Services to sign the agreements and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, now for our standing items. Item 7A, commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
Last week, fire commissioners, EMS council, Thurston Mason Board of Health, and I did that with Commissioner Mincer, Steady, Nisqually River Council, and lots of calls about COVID and the vaccine and where we're at in that whole process. And I'll let it go at that. Thank you. Nothing of very important substance to bring forward on any of those particular committee meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menster?
Thank you. Yes, attended the study meeting, South Thurston Economic Development Initiative on Friday. Attended a tree planting event with Ralph Monroe and Bob Barnes and the kids at Marshall Middle School, planting redwoods over on County Trail, over by the Ralph Monroe Trail and near the Barnes Bog. So the namesakes themselves were out there, and we were working on planting redwoods that will last 2,000 to 3,000 years. These are trees cloned from a set of legacy. There's a really complicated explanation I won't get into, but this particularly robust and ancient set of trees, and they've saved like 100 of them, and they're cloning off of them. And then they got a chance, and they're being stored in Seattle, and they're able to get their hands on a group of these little saplings, and we were planting them out there, and it's a really neat project. So that was a lot of fun. Attended the State Association of Counties virtual assembly, and one thing I wanted to report on, Commissioner Edwards and I both heard this. It's a program that we learned about at our BHASO meeting, and I wasn't quite aware of it. If I heard about it, it didn't stick. It's called a host program, and it's basically this is from the last legislative session, and it's taken till about now to get all the rules worked out and the money allocated, and they're finally starting to put it into place. And what it does is it gives just under $1 million for the next 6 months to set this up, and then another almost $1 million over the ensuing 12 months to operate the program. So we're looking at almost $2 million over 18 months. And what it does is it's bringing medical and behavioral health services to the houseless community. And this has been a gap, and the legislature tried to fill that gap because, we're trying to move behavioral health to the community level, but we don't always have the infrastructure there. So this is hopefully a way to bridge that gap as we put our infrastructure in place. So it's a program I wanted folks to know about because, getting to those, we know the behavioral health needs of that community, and if we can address medical needs, I think it really does save the community over time to have preventative medical care for people, no matter what their situation is, rather than having them land in an emergency room. So anyway, wanted to let folks know about that. It's just getting going, and the BHASL will be involved in figuring out who's going to provide the services. And so there'll probably be a process there that we'll be able to track this next 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, for me, it was a busy last week, and it was busy yesterday too. One of my committee meetings was intercity transit, and we spoke about there's currently over 66 people out, employees out due to COVID. And so that has definitely impacted the services. They are not to the level where they're planning on cutting services yet, but that might definitely be, an approach that they have to take. Just depends on how many people keep getting sick. I attended the study meeting with Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Menser. The WASAC LSC meeting, Legislative Steering Committee meeting, where I spoke on behalf of House Bill 1965, which is our bill. And it was very exciting to get positive feedback on that. I also attended the mayor's meeting where we spoke about our resolution this week and kind of just better ways to keep working together and communicating better. I attended the Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting. I attended for an hour, and then I had to step away. And then I attended the WASAC virtual meeting last Friday, or no, yesterday, sorry. WASAC is kind of slowly starting to take over my life over here. And then I had many meetings with community members and different stakeholders. I was very excited about one. I had one with Prosecutor John Thunheim and Council Member Lenny Greenstein, and we were talking about the possibility of homeless court. And we were just throwing ideas around. We have done some initial research on it, and we're gonna be following up on many more meetings and trying to see how it would fit in Thurston County. Other than that, I have nothing else to report at this time. Okay, then with that, we'll move on to the item description. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of January 25th, 2022. County manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me start this with today, January 25th at 6 in the afternoon. You have been invited to participate on the Big Bird Native American Artwork dedication. And that is located at Yelm High School, 1315 West Yelm Avenue in Yelm, Washington. Wednesday, January 26th, 8 in the morning, you have an executive session related to the county manager annual evaluation. Moving on to Wednesday, January 26th at 9 in the morning, you have an executive session following up on the solid waste contracts. At 11 tomorrow, January 26th in the morning, you have a briefing related to the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA funds. Nothing on your combined schedule on Thursday, January 27th. Nothing on your combined schedule Friday, January 28th. Moving on to next week, and I will walk you through an additional week since the Board of County Commissioners meeting is scheduled for February 1st has been canceled. Monday, January 31st, you have your regular Washington State Association of Counties virtual assembly at noon. Tuesday, January 1st, we will have a 9 in the morning a regular agenda setting where you will be reviewing the agenda for February the 8th, not the 1st since that day has been canceled. Wednesday, February the 2nd, you have the opportunity to welcome new county employees at 10:30 in the morning. Thursday, February the 3rd at 9 in the morning, you have an update related to the Drainage Design and Erosion Control Manual. Following at 10 in the morning for the regular commissioners check-in. At 2 in the afternoon, February the 3rd, you have a briefing related to the Low Impact Development, All ID Code Amendment. And I believe that is something the board has been waiting to come to your attention. 2:30, February the 3rd, in the afternoon, you have also an update related to Forest Lands Conservation Ordinance and Review Tree Protection Standards. 3:30 in the afternoon, January the 3rd, you have a briefing related to the Journal Technologies, e-Prosecutor, and e-Defender, and that will be an informational briefing for you. Nothing on your combined schedule on Friday, February the 4th. Moving on to Monday, February the 7th, at noon, you have your standing meeting with the Washington State Association of Counties virtual assembly. And then we'll convene back here on Tuesday, February the 8th, on your regular agenda setting at 9 in the morning. At 2 in the afternoon, your Board of County Commissioners, and at 3:30, the Board of Health regular meeting. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, commissioners, anything else before we adjourn? Commissioner Edwards?
No, I think it can wait until we have another meeting. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Menser? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.